go over something, it's no longer as painful because we've healed. And if we need to deal with something, we do. We manage it well because we're well. We put something together that resolves it. And I don't know what your situation, whatever you're dealing with, I'm here to be this beacon, right? This delight at the end of the tunnel. This is Jivamukti. So if I can help you or anybody get out of their stories, their stuck stories, it could be reflective of self-esteem, but this is what I am determining as an ego, that I'm seeing something in my mind that's representing myself, and I'm giving it certain marks and values, and through that perspective, I'm defining myself, and maybe I'm really limiting those possibilities, but maybe it's also as far as I can go right now. So I have to appreciate that some people, it's a stretch for them to even just take 5 minutes out of their day to just have a sense of awareness, right? Okay, what am I thinking? What am I saying, right? The W, the words, and the way I'm acting, TWA, thoughts, words, and actions, the flight I take every day. For some people, it's a stretch. So I don't know if ego-therapy would be something in the future. Just confession therapy, I think, would be great. So yeah, I did it. I admit it. I want to work through it. I want to be better. I want to be thoughtful and considerate, because this model is a way forward for us to be able to coalesce and to bring together a community in a conscious conversation. Again, some of that work at communityconversations.com, that was really reflective of my dissertation at that time. It really needs to be updated. But what needs to really happen is for people to step forward and go, hey, I want to have more of these conversations. And you just have a conversation. It doesn't need me to initiate or facilitate. Anyone can host one. You just bring people together and just talk. And it might go off in certain avenues, but at least, in this TWA direction, we become a bit more attuned to this. And how I participate and show up in the conversation is reflective of my participation in community. So that's enough for me to just go on. If I'm going to talk about anything, otherwise I'll be silent myself. And if I listen to it, it's sort of like, oh my gosh, Dr. Judd would want to find out what was interesting, what was right about that person having to say it. And part of it could be in my interpretation of divining things. A person's just having to say something because they don't have much going on for them. And maybe TV and trivia and the weather, sports is all they can talk about. But maybe it's just an introduction, a gateway. Once you feel safe and accommodating, you can come in, and sort of like, oh, well, what's meaningful for you in your life? What's your MVP, right? Your mission. Do you have a vision? What is it you really value? And what is it in your perspective that you feel it, you have a purpose, right? And are you fulfilling that purpose with passion? To where now you can expand this horizon because we've connected. We've come into this, in this dynamic as a community conversation that's highly concerned, conscious, empty of any other agenda other than just simply being lovingly present. Woo! Open that champagne bottle. What am I saying, folks? The time has come, in some way and format. We need to talk. And if things are presented off kilter in a certain way, I understand that the shift might be just outside forces interfering, or just simply we don't have the correct perspective and we just need to adjust ourselves. This TWA, what's my thinking, words I'm using, how am I acting? This is the identity, right? My internal dialogue, I'm aware of it. Oh my God, I caught myself. Now, if I'm going to identify with it, I might say, well, I still feel about this, or I see myself from that perspective. And then I'll take you to cringefactors.com. Cringefactors.com. So we're like, well, what are we taking on as our mantle and this identity? This whole thing about me is sort of like you can play many parts, right? And it could be just what's reflected in the moment when you find yourself going, oh my gosh, OMG. If one's just present and really empty of any other agenda, just simply present. Whatever appears to you is just like anything on the screen of life. You could be watching TV or a movie or just someone doing a dance. It's theater, as Goffman would talk about, the play of life, as Shakespeare wrote about. So we can participate and have fun, but we know our roles. And if we're having to adapt and be in the moment in a certain way, well, I want to make sure I've got permission to be here and I'm okay, you're okay with it. And I'm like, all right, with you in the presentation. Otherwise, it can be off-putting, destabilizing. and we wouldn't have the core elements of what we'd love, right? To be warm and welcoming, really let's ride on, and with ease, right? This can be comforting because it's showing great consideration and kindness. That's how we wreck it. What we bring forth is a new dimension because we, as UBE3 representatives of the self-liberation movement, have moved forward. And if this is our agenda, it's love. All you need is love. And it can be challenging at times. I know the person's off-putting or smells or whatever capacity, sort of that representation you feel or have judged. Either you're not ready or they're not ready or the situation is not called for that kind of remedy. We have to be careful, right? And certainly avoid situations where we're going to be really in a disarray where it's just uncomfortable and it's not going to resolve anything but make it worse. You have to sort of know what's right in the moment. And yet you can keep a warm and welcoming, reflective of what's right for the person and where they feel they've got the right, that it's relevant, and it's made easy in the way that we're all about this goal of enlightenment. This is what we wish to entice, to exact. And with this becomes the conditions where we keep really great company, right? It's just really excellent because there's so much consideration shown. I don't know what else exemplifies kindness. And this then becomes part of the formula for UBE3, right? Ultra being an excellent example of enlightenment as you're able to exemplify it yourself. By ultra being present, loving, kind and considerate, easygoing and real, warm and welcoming. All About Me's is really just sort of like reflective of just being here now. In this embodiment, shake it up, check in with your posture, your breathing, shoulders, facial contours, and eyes. Your eyes say it all pretty much, don't they? It's amazing. All right, so we want to get a little bit more self-lived. Then we have to recognize that we live in the mess, and where things are messed up, M-E-S-T, is because, people are facing matters, right, of concern. So we want to make it a bit more easier for them, have this emotional, sense of things. I talk about the XQ versus just IQ or EQ, where we can really express ourselves in this dynamic. This becomes a positive energy, you could say, something that is a bit more oriented towards healing, whole brainness. So the spatial dynamics in the mess, matter, energy, space, allows for a more positive relationship, less cluttered, at least in the dimension of where things are sort of like, oh my gosh, right? Space invasion is not happening, right? We're sort of like within a good space. And that's going to make for a quality of relationships and the time we have together, which really is what most people value. And what they can really coalesce is time. So matter, energy, space, and time is what's messed in the world. Ask any physicist, that's it, matter, energy, space, and time. How we psychically analyze it and contribute to it is kind of what the work's about with ultra beingness. And the up part, in case you're wondering, because it's messed up, UP, is the recognition that this is a universal condition. God's universal, it's everywhere. And it's perpetual, right? We don't want to be Don Quixotes fighting windmills. We need to wake up ourselves, and only in this capacity, when it becomes a bit more aware, attuned to what it is I'm thinking, the words, right, I'm using, the quality of the way I'm actualizing my presence. There's nothing else to do or adjust other than just being attuned and present. That's all that's being asked. That's all that's being asked. This is the request, how you show up, to be more attuned. And this ideology of a UBE3 and an ultra being philosophy, and so we wake up out of the mass trance. These are all interesting things, and ways to do it through communityconversations.com, lovingconversations.com, that so needs your participation, otherwise it just can't happen, and the world is prevented from this magic that your contribution would help make. And it's so desired, so needed. I know you're doing the best you can and doing everything you can. It's just one more thing, isn't it? Letting it go. Just let it go. Ultra being. All about me, right? I bet you got your stories and your committee in your mind and different role plays that have you in different situations and experiences. You probably could write a book about it. Anyway, in the way that you experience it, love it, and the way that you share it, make it enlightening towards something that's forwarding the agenda of where we are going to be more loving as a community and as an engaged society that's a bit more aware. I'm MikeRatner.com. I guess this is Mike'sMastermind.com talking about my friends from Facebook just said, hey, what's your story since high school? Man, a lot's happened. And it continues to. One of my longer talks at 40 minutes. You made it all the way through? Wow. Thank you.